What's up, guys? BJ Kissel with another quick video, this time talking about the Kansas City Chiefs defensive line and some decisions they're going to have to make this offseason in regards to that group. And I've already annoyed most people watching this video, and I apologize because the Chiefs have spent 3 of their last 4 first-round picks on the defensive line, and to hear that it's still a need is not something Chiefs fans want to hear right now. Dorsey, 2008 first-round pick out of LSU, is an unrestricted free agent. Was originally drafted as a 4-3, 3-technique defensive tackle, a penetrator. The comparisons to Warren Sapp were made coming out of college, and then after Dorsey's rookie year, we switched to the 3-4, and he was basically a square peg in a round hole as a 5-tech defensive end. Not something he was drafted to be, not something that he was necessarily drafted to thrive in that scheme. And I personally don't believe he's going to be back in Kansas City. Then you've got Tyson Jackson, the 2009 first-round pick out of LSU, and much has been made about Jackson's contract. He's due over $17 million. At least his cap hit is over $17 million next season, something he's not going to see. If he's cut, the Chiefs save $14.25 million on the cap, and they've got about $17 million in room right now. So you're basically almost doubling your available cap space by releasing Tyson Jackson. But those are 2 starting defensive ends, and if you lose both of them, then obviously it's a big need. We'll see if the Chiefs can come to an agreement on extending Tyson Jackson, although I don't think he's going to see that. He's not going to see that contract either way, but it will be interesting to see if they come to an agreement on a restructuring. If I was a betting man right now, I'd say that he's probably not going to come to an agreement. Dontari Poe, the first-round pick from last year, really did progress throughout the season. The drafting of Poe was met with a lot of mixed reactions from Chiefs fans. He finished the season with 38 tackles, but 15 of those were in his last 4 games. Chiefs fans are tired of hearing about the development that it takes for defensive linemen, especially in Romeo Crennel's defense, to kind of come along. But Poe's responsibilities as the zero technique nose tackle were basically both gaps on either side of the center. He wasn't trying to shoot into the backfield and make a play. He was basically trying to tie up the center, hold both those gaps, and let the linebackers behind him run around and make plays. With new Chiefs defensive coordinator Bob Sutton, who brings a 1-gap, he's going to use some 2-gap as well. But with his 1-gap scheme, Dontari Poe is going to be able to use that quickness and that agility that so many people raved about him, around the time of the Combine, around this time last year. So many people were talking about his athleticism and his strength and the combination of both. And this 1-gapping scheme where he's going to penetrate and attack is really going to, kind of show off those skills in a way that, Crennel's system really didn't do until it was passing situations. But I think we're really going to see Dontari Poe break out next season and use that athletic ability that was talked about so much with him. And Chiefs fans necessarily don't want to hear about first round draft picks or draft picks at all along the defensive line because so much has been invested in those spots. But obviously, possibly losing both their starting defensive ends in Dorsey and Tyson Jackson, it's something that has to be addressed this offseason with the new regime, with John Dorsey, Andy Reid, Bob Sutton, and company. Obviously, the Chiefs brought in free agent Chris Canty from the New York Giants. Reportedly laid out the red carpet for him. Canty didn't sign with Kansas City. He went and took a couple other visits to a couple other places. Hasn't signed anywhere yet, so he might still be in the mix. But you can see that the Chiefs are making an effort to kind of target guys to play along the defensive line. Another interesting guy, Rapati Pito Atua. Spent 3 years, before he came to Kansas City last season, spent 3 years with the New York Jets. So Bob Sutton has a familiarity with him and vice versa. And Pito Atua led the Chiefs defensive line in tackles last year with 51. Tyson Jackson was second among defensive linemen with 43. And then you've got a guy like Alan Bailey, drafted a couple years ago out of the University of Miami, and how he fits into the system. At 6'3", 285, was brought in as a sub-package, pass rushing defensive tackle. Didn't really do well as a 2-gapper. Wasn't really good at the point of attack. Got driven back quite a bit when asked to do that. But another guy who's got a lot of athleticism. Maybe in a 1-gapping system, he finds a role and can make an impact on the team next season. And you got guys Jarrell Poe, Sean Smith, Anthony Toribio, all those guys have been in the mix within the last year. How do those guys fit into this new system? Maybe some guys step up that didn't necessarily fit well into Romeo Crennel's system, or didn't make an impact with what he was asking them to do that might make an impact with what Sutton's asking these guys to do. So it's definitely an area that is going to be addressed at some point. What kind of investment is made this offseason into the defensive line is yet to be determined, but it's still an area, if you lose both starting defensive ends, that they're going to have to address one way or another. So that'll be interesting to check out this offseason. I'm sorry for annoying you talking about the defensive line. For SB Nation and Arrowhead Pride, I'm BJ Kissel.